Hello everybody, my name is Lukas Stefanko, and today I would like to share with you our research about security and privacy issues discovered in Android Stalkerware apps. If you thought that social media knows everything about you, you were right. However, today I would like to tell you that there are apps that know even more. Would you like to know more? Have you ever been feeling like spied upon? Have you ever encountered strange behavior of your smartphone? Have you ever had a feeling that you know that somebody knows, but you don't know how they know? They might know because they installed Stalkerware software in your smartphone. So, what is Stalkerware? Simply put, it's a spying app. Stalker needs to have physical access to smartphone, unlocks it, install the application, set it up, enable all the necessary permissions, and based on these permissions, we can tell what are the capabilities of the software. Afterwards, it is hidden from the victim's view and it might impersonate legitimately looking apps such as settings. Where these apps could be downloaded from, besides shady sites, apparently they were available even on Google Play, imposing as kid or employee spies, resulting in fact that it wasn't that difficult to install them whatsoever. Precisely, they were installed over 140,000 times from Google Play Store alone. So the number speaks for itself. Based on our telemetry from our Android devices, as you can see now in the slides, these apps have become more and more popular in the last couple of years. In 2019, we detected 5 times more installs as in previous year. Last year, the detection increased 48%. We see the popularity is still on the rise. So how can we make sure no one is looking over our shoulder? This problem has been discussed and luckily for us, it has been solved. How? Manually or automatically using trustworthy security software that detects, informs, and removes our uninvited guest. However, its enormous popularity made us wonder and worry about one more problem. Who else might be watching? Since Stalkerware gathers more private data about their victims than any other app you have installed in your smartphone. And I'm talking about the privacy and security of victim information that might be at risk, since such software can access almost all the sensitive user data. When we picked one of the most popular social media app permissions to compare to Stalkerware, it is important that social media app request these permissions when necessary and asks person either to allow permission one time or during using the application. Contrary, Stalkerware, in order to work properly, all the permissions needs to be checked. As a result, the stalker has full access all the time. Let's take a look. The phone on the right belongs to the attacker. The attacker is not a stalker. It's a person that misuses security issues found in Stalkerware. Victim and stalker are not aware of attacker or these actions. Phone on the left belongs to victim. The attacker sends text message to victim. The victim receives, Stalkerware will process it, and then it would automatically trigger and make phone call back to attacker, back to anyone who sent the text message, instantly opening microphone spying opportunities without victim knowledge. Please pay attention to upcoming slides where we will deep dive and share with you our research. We will focus on Stalkerware security, privacy issues, and then we'll close all that up with responsible disclosure to affected vendors. Question is where from we gathered Stalkerware apps. From various sources, starting with Stalkerware indicators of compromise, then from our telemetry, our data, we followed top used Stalkerwares in year 2020. paid Google advertisement, paid PR articles, top Google search. Because of that, we gather information about 86 Stalkerware vendors. Stalkerware on mobile platform divides the two main operating systems, Android, iOS. We focused only on Android. The reason is simple: market share over 71%, and the easiness of side-loading third-party application. Comparing to iOS, when Stalker wants to install Stalkerware into a victim device, device needs to be either jailbroken or Stalker needs to have iCloud credentials. And there's one more reason why we focused on Android. From 86 analyzed vendors, only 37 provided solution or app for iOS. So what was our plan? Our plan was to went through 86 applications that were provided by 86 different vendors through 86 different websites. We went through manual, static, and dynamic analysis to observe its behavior and capabilities. Because of the possible legal issues, we would like to state the fact that this was not a full penetration test. We focus on privacy and security issues that actually impact clients, victims, company. However, the matter is really serious. There were some limitations. I would like to go through them first because we haven't paid for any of the software. We didn't want to support them. We were limited by provided functionality of app and full accessibility of admin panel. This is responsible for sending commands, receiving data, storing them. Still, we were able to completely test 72 apps out of 86, where 14 were limited to static analysis only. What were our findings? For 86 apps, we found security issues with serious impact in 67% of analyzed apps. 33% were without serious security or privacy issues discovered. Altogether, we identified 158 exploitable problems in 58 apps. Now let's move to the particular vulnerabilities. Again, even though there were limitations, we still could identify 158 problems, such as data leaks on the network, on a device, on the server, possibility to frame victim, remotely controlling smartphone by sending simple text message, possibility to take over account or live stream without knowledge of the victim or stalker. I prepared 2 more video demonstrations. I'll show them. I go through them briefly. Now, I will go through the most serious issues right now, starting with not secured communication. Since Stalkerware is installed on smartphone, needs to extract data and send them to server. However, 22 Stalkerware apps would use unsecure, unprotected with additional encryption protocol HTTP, and because of that, the attacker on the same network, on the same Wi-Fi, could intercept the communication and still transmit the data. In some cases, Stalkerware would send login credentials of Stalkerware to server, and because of that, once they are stolen by attacker, they could take over admin account of Stalker to control victims' smartphone. Some of the Stalkerware could download additional components, binary components that are then executed or updates of themselves. There was no integrity check on downloaded files, they were executed. Because of that, attacker could replace downloaded binaries on the network with a custom malicious one to trigger remote code execution. The most common issue was stealing, intercepting all the data that were transmitted from device to server, containing text messages, call logs, applications, communication, etc. These were leaks on the network. Let's move to the leak of personally identifiable information on the smartphone. What does it mean? Stalkerware needs to process all the commands and store somewhere the data. These data are stored on external shared media, and because of that, These data are accessible to other apps installed on a smartphone if they have a read-write permission storage. One of the apps stored admin token on external media, and because of that, other apps could steal that, take control of admin account, and control the full smartphone. Stalkerware provided keylogger functionality, meaning they could log all user input from all apps. These keylogs were not protected and accessible to other applications. They could even log sensitive information like passwords from other apps, financial apps, and because of that, take control of other accounts, not just Stalkerware admin account. The most frequently seen device leak was unprotectedly stored data, such as recorded phone calls, taken photos, screenshots, in some cases even calendar events, browsing history, contact list, phone number, received text messages. So we went through leak on a network, leak on a device, let's move to the leak on the server. User data leaks through open directories on the server. There were available data such as victims' photos, recorded calls, detailed information on the person, such as names, physical addresses, text messages, social media messages, email addresses. These data were accessible without any authentication for anyone. During analysis, we discovered and tested that manipulating with victims' data wasn't a problem at all. Many apps used for pairing device and server account unique device ID, such as email or Android ID, instead of using server-generated token. However, these IDs could be obtained by other apps on the smartphone. There are two case scenarios how this can be misused. The first one, if app uses unsecured HTTP protocol to communicate, remote attacker on the same network could intercept the communication and replace data that were sent to server to add some custom text messages, fabricate photos, phone calls, chat, to frame a person, to maybe even blackmail, to make a person's life a little bit more difficult. Second case scenario, apps on a smartphone could obtain these IDs, and once they have the IDs of the victim, they could upload custom data. If there is no internet connection, some of these apps have implemented ability to receive SMS commands. However, not all of them verify if the commands are received from a stalker, and because of that, anyone could remotely control smartphone simply by sending text message. There are two things necessary. First is a phone number of a victim. Second, commands. Commands are available on the websites of the vendor phone number. Either attacker already knows the phone number, or this could be extracted by third-party app. I prepared another video demonstration where on the right side, smartphone belongs to the attacker, not the stalker. The phone on the left belongs to victim. The attacker sends text message to victim receives, and Stalkerware would trigger sharing exact GPS location and sending it to whoever sent the text message. Of course, the GPS needs to be enabled on the smartphone of victim. Because of unprotected exported components, it is possible to trigger restricted Stalkerware functionality. As a result, any app on a smartphone could, through Stalkerware, without any permission, take pictures, record calls, record surrounding audio, take screenshots, wipe data, enable GPS, reboot smartphone, etc. And afterwards access these data since they are stored on external and shared storage. What happens when spying ends? This is a photo taken by a stalker of my ceiling while it was lying next to me. Unfortunately, it is still stored and accessible on a server, even though the stalker, in this case me, removed data logs, unlinked smartphone, and removes full account. Besides these photos, on the server are still accessible my text messages and full contact list. In other cases of Stalkerware, data are not removed immediately when requested, but rather it takes 90 extra days to be removed. Hard-coded secrets that were found inside Stalkerware apps. This is not about tokens or passwords as you might expect, but rather just server links that are responsible to trigger a live stream from smartphone. What is it all about? In-app are hard-coded, particularly three, that could through server trigger a live stream from a particular smartphone. The only thing that is necessary is device ID. However, this ID is stored again on external shared media accessible to other apps on a smartphone. I prepared a video demonstration how this can be exploited. Let me explain what you can see. On the left side is smartphone of a victim where Stalkerware is already installed and set up. And then on the right side we have three windows. The first one contains extracted links that were found in Stalkerware, three of them. In the middle is a browser through which we trigger the live stream, and then we have VLC. We already copied the first link into VLC to watch stream from smartphone, however it's disabled. Now we have to trigger that by making two requests to server, and if the server returns through, which means server triggered stream from that smartphone, we can see that in our VLC player. There was no authentication, no password request, and the victim has no idea someone is spying on his camera and microphone. These were some of the found security and privacy issues in Stalkerware apps. After we identified these issues, we reported them to affected vendors. We follow 90-day disclosure practice by up to 3 contacts to vendor, email support ticket, or using both. In 2 cases, we're not successful reaching the owner, the author of the apps. What are the results of reaching the vendors? From 58 apps that contain the issues, only 10% of the vendors replied back and fixed them within 90 days. 12% of the vendors promised us to fix the issues, but they haven't done that yet. And 78% of the vendors haven't contacted us, haven't reached us back, and issues are still not fixed. Because of that, we decided not to publish full list of apps, their vendors, and link them to particular problems. Now we are heading to conclusion, but before that, let me quickly go through a compromise scenario, how it looks from stalker and the victim perspective. So what is necessary for stalker to install Stalkerware into a smartphone? Stalker needs to have physical access to the device. This cannot be done remotely because Stalker first needs to set up the application, log in, and synchronize it with a remote admin panel. He needs to unlock a smartphone, he needs to know PIN, password, pattern, whatever. Download, install application. This is done within up to 2 minutes. For a victim, some prevention tips: make sure to have lock screen protection, password, PIN. It is not simple, not trivial. If you believe someone accessed your device, make sure to scan your smartphone using trustworthy, up-to-date security software that informs you about such app being installed and then removes that. To summarize, number based on our telemetry, number of Android Stalkerware has been increasing for the last couple of years. These Stalkerware apps access more private and personal information of the victim than any other app you have installed in your device right now. Based on our research, they contain security issues. We identified 158. Problem is that once reported to vendors or the developers, they don't really care about that, since 78% would not reply back or fix them. We would like to appeal to anyone who might be thinking of using such software to reconsider that. Using Stalkerware to spy on your spouses is not just unethical, but it also reveals private and intimate information about them, but also about those who installed it and want to spy on their close ones. Thank you very much for your attention. Enjoy more talks to come.